Hello friends, welcome back. So in today's session we will see interface, enum and annotations. So these all are the user defined data types, like same as a class. How we have defined a class, how we can create the object for class. In the same way we can define annotation, enum and annotations. So let's get started with that one. So interface defines the functionality. Interface defines the functionality without the implementation. Interface keyword is used to define the interface in Java, and interface is a special class that can be fully abstract or that can also have a default functionality. Suppose see what exactly interface is. Suppose you don't know the implementation, but you know the required parameters and you know the abstract. You know the abstraction, but you don't know the implementation. So in that case we can use interface. Means whoever know the implementation, that developer can implement that one, and you can do your respective task. Means from that interface what you are expecting, the same whatever the output you are expecting, you can continue with that one. In that case you can define your interface. Means that can be, functionality can be defined without implementation, and implementation can be given by some other developer. So this is called interface, and interface can extend another interface also in the same way. Between the interfaces inheritance relationship can also be possible, and between the classes obviously it is possible, because inside one class you want to implement one interface or more than one interface. In that case you can use interface. And one more very important point is, in C or C++, if we want to implement multiple inheritance, so in C or C++ there is a chances that you will get a runtime error. Runtime error means the same name may be available in both the superclass. Suppose you are inheriting two classes you are inheriting. In that case, in the both classes same method is available with the same signature. In that case your C or C++ compiler will be confused, because your compiler will not be able to decide from which class a particular method should be executed. So to remove that issue, Java has introduced interface. Along with this uses, interface can be used for many purposes. Like suppose you want to consider only, suppose you are considering only the abstraction. Means you don't know the implementation, but you know the required parameters and the required output. You know what we need and what we need to give the input, but how to process that data you don't know. So in that case we can use interface, and the implementation part we can give to some other person or some other developer who knows how to implement that one. So this is the main use of interface. And for this interface you cannot create object directly, you have to implement this interface. Interface has to be implemented into some class so that you can create the object for that one, but directly you cannot create object from interface. And interface can have a abstract method and default methods and static variables. So these three are the valid for the member of a interface. For interface, object cannot be created, it need to be implemented into another class. Okay, that's we have seen interface. One class can implement one or more interface, one interface can extend another interface. Okay, and there are some types of interface also. One is a marker interface, one is a functional interface, another one is a multi-function interface. Multi-function interface is nothing but you can say that if your interface is not marker interface or your your interface is not functional interface, then you can say it is a multi-function interface. Marker interface is what? An interface that defined without any member called marker interface. An interface defined with only one abstract method called functional interface, and it is used in Lambda expression. That also we will see in code implementation. So if your interface is not marker interface or functional interface, then you can say that it is an interface only, or it is a multi-function interface. It's up to your choice what you want to say. So okay, let's see the implementation now. Suppose here my function we have defined, not function, my interface. We have defined one my interface here, you can see. So this is the keyword, interface keyword, that we have to use to define the interface. As we have seen in this definition, interface keyword is used to define the interface in Java. So my interface we have declared with interface keyword, it means this is an interface, and interface can have a static variable. See, this is a static variable because we have declared as a public static string f1 high. High is a value, f1 is the variable name, and string is a type. So this is a static. Do you think this is a static? Obviously this is also static. If you don't give any if you don't give this static keyword, then also it is a static only. And so we can say that interface can have a static variable and interface can have an abstract method. So these all are the abstract methods, and this is the default method. What is the use of this default method? Suppose you want to give default implementation. Whoever is using, in whatever class you are implementing this interface, in that class you want to give this default implementation. This is the default implementation, by default it will come. You want to give that one, so you can give using this default method. You can give, no issue. And what is the use of this abstract? These all are the abstract method. What is the meaning of this abstract method? Suppose we have defined here abstraction. We can say like that, abstract method is nothing but that can be used to define the abstraction. In the simple word, we can say like that, abstract method is nothing but that can be used to define the abstraction. So here we are using abstract keyword, we can use that one. If we are not using that abstract keyword, then also this method is abstract only, because in interface by default all the methods are abstract only if you are not giving the body for that one. See here, no body is not there. So if there is no body, in that case this is an interface. In that case this method is an abstract. If you are not giving this abstract keyword, then also this method are abstract only. So if you see the definition, interface is used to achieve multiple inheritance. Yeah, that also we will see. One interface can extend. Okay, yeah. And so okay, in the previous video, in the previous session we have seen we can use interface to implement polymorphism also. We can use interface to implement polymorphism. It is not like that. In interface only you can implement polymorphism. In class also you can implement polymorphism. That is up to the requirement only. Here this is an interface and we are using here polymorphism. We are using here polymorphism. This method is without parameter. Same method mein my method is given with string parameter, one parameter. Same method name is given with one parameter, that is a string type. Means here we are just changing the type of argument. How we can achieve polymorphism in Java? By changing the type of parameter. Yeah, we have changed the type. Here is type is a string. In this one type is a integer. By changing the type of parameter, by changing the number of parameters. Suppose in this one we are giving two parameters. But here we are giving one parameter only. Here is one parameter. Here is one parameter. But here we are changing the type. Here we are changing the number of parameter. Here we are changing the order of parameter. Means we can achieve polymorphism in Java by changing the type of parameter, by changing the order of parameter, or by changing the number of parameter. So here we are doing all this. We are changing the number of parameters. Yeah, here two arguments, here one argument. So we have changed the number of parameter. Here one argument is there only. Here also one argument, but the type is different. Here type is a string. Here type is an integer. And here we have changed the order. Order means here two argument only. In this method also two argument only, but order is different. Order is different means first one is a string, but here first one is an integer. Here second one is an integer, but here second one is a string. So in that case we have achieved here polymorphism also. And this method name is same for all, and all are abstract. This is abstract keyword. If you are not giving abstract keyword, then that also is abstract only. And this is a default. If you want to give some default, so by default in the subclass this default implementation will come. And this is the static keyword. This is the static variable. These are the static variable that we have defined here. So now we will give the implementation. Here is the implementation. Now we can give this implementation in my class. Yeah, in my class we have given the implementation. See, we are implementing here. This is the inheritance, because both types are different. This is an interface. This is a string. This is a class. If both are different types, then we have to use implements keyword. If both are same, then we can use extend. If suppose this is a class and if here is also class, then we have to use extend. If here is an interface, here is an abstract class, in that case also you have to use extend only. But if it is a different, then you have to use implements. Okay, so here we have to implement all the methods. All the methods means what? Except default method. Default method also, if we want to implement that, we can do that one, but if you don't want, then we can skip that one. So currently we are not implementing. We are implementing one method that is without parameter, and with one parameter type string, that also we have implemented here. And with one argument, that is a type, the type is integer only, that also we have implemented. Two argument method, that also we have implemented. First one is a string, second one is an integer. And the same two argument method also we have implemented, that first one is an integer type and the second one is a string type, and we have given this implementation. Just we are printing, and we are printing here the type, like first one is integer, second one is a string. Here first one is a string, the second one is an integer. Here one only, that is integer. Here one only, that is a type string. Here no argument. and we are printing that values here also. So this is the implementation, and this is our my interfaces and our interface. So if we see the main class, yeah, this one is our main class. Here what we are doing, we are just creating the object. We have created the object of class here, but it is not a problem. You can assign that into my interface, that is fine. My interface, yeah, that's also fine. That's also fine. My interface, you can change this also. My interface, because for directly for interface we cannot create the object. Here we see that if we see the definition, used for object cannot be created. Yeah, for interface object cannot be created. It need to implements into another class. It need to implement into another class. Yeah, so this is an interface. For that one we cannot create the object for that one, but we have implemented into this my class. In this class we have implemented, so that's why we can create the object of my class, and we can assign that object reference into my interface only. Okay, that we can change. Okay, yeah, okay, yeah, that's fine. So if I run this one, you will see the output. Yes, so first one, this is the first method without any parameter. We are printing here, we are printing this only. This is the second method, that is the second method with string parameter. So in the string parameter we are passing only the name, so the name we are printing here. This is the third method, that is with one argument, that is type integer, and the integer value we are passing here as a num, and that num value we are printing. And the fourth one is string and integer type, two arguments type method, two arguments method. That first one is a string and second one is an integer, and we are printing both. And the next one also we are printing both. First one is integer and the second one is a number only. So here this is a polymorphism. We are achieving here polymorphism. Name is same, but the behavior is different. How behavior is different? According to your input, and these are the static field. You can access that static field from the class.field name, or you can access with interface.field name. That is up to your choice how you want to use. See here, F2 is also a static. See, if you open this my interface, F2 you have not declared as a static. The static keyword we are not using here. But since you are not using static keyword, F2 is a static only, because if it is static then only you can access with class name. If it is not static, then you cannot access with class name. So because by default this is a static only, and by default the method is abstract only. If you give the here abstract, then no issue. If you give here abstract, no issue. But if you don't want to give, then that is also fine, no issue. You can give that also. Select that. It's up to your choice. By default your your compiler will add this abstract. Okay, so this is our interface. Okay, the next one is what is marker interface? An interface without any member called a marker interface. Is there any example? Suppose we can create any interface and we will not give anything inside the body. We will not give any method, any variable or any default method. We will not give anything. We will keep that as blank only. The body we will keep as a blank. In that case, that will be considered as marker interface. And one marker interface is already there. That is what? That is serializable. That is one example as serializable. Yeah, if you open this serializable and you will see the code. Yeah, see, this is from Java 1.1 serializable, and that inside this body you will see nothing is there. empty, body is empty, it means this is a marker interface. This is a marker interface. Okay, and this is a marker interface. Another one is functional interface. Yeah, functional interface. So what is functional interface definition? In functional interface, in functional interface only one abstract method will be there. Only one abstract method will be there. No issue, you can give default. See, first we will execute that one. So this is a functional interface. This is a functional interface because in this one only one abstract method is there. One abstract. If your interface has only one abstract method, then you can say that is a functional interface, and you can mark this this annotation. If you don't mark this annotation, that is also fine, no issue. But for better understanding, you can mark. For better understanding, you can mark, no issue. This annotations you can mark. So this is a functional interface, and if I will open my functional interface main class, see, for functional interface we are not giving any implementation. We no need to give any implementation. Why? See, my interface is there. For my interface we have created one class, that is my class. Inside my class we have implemented my interface. But my functional interface, for my functional interface we have not created any class and we have not implemented that one, because we have used lambda expression. Functional interface is mainly used for lambda expression only. You can create class also, no issue. If you want to create class, you can create class, no issue, but not required to create, because only one abstract method is there. In that case you can use lambda expression. So how we can use lambda expression? So this is our lambda expression. This is our lambda expression. See, one method is there, only one method is there inside this my functional interface. Inside this my functional interface only one abstract method is there, that is my function, means that name is my function, and that is taking one string type argument. So how we can give that implementation? We can give that implementation here, like that. This is lambda expression. My function interface, this is an interface, means this is a type, that is a reference variable, is equals to, after equals to you can directly give lambda expression, and this hyphen and angular braces is representing lambda expression. Whatever I'm currently selecting, that one, this one is representing lambda expression only. Lambda expression only. So this is our lambda expression, and inside this one we are giving the implementation of that method for this method, because there will be only one method. The condition is there for the functional interface, only one abstract method should be there, only one. If it is a more than one, then you cannot say that is a functional interface. Only one abstract method should be there. So if it is a one abstract method, then that implementation you can give here directly, no issue. So that method is taking a string type parameter, so that we are taking inside a name, and the name we are printing, that's it. So this is the lambda expression. Suppose this, if okay, I will run and I will show you the output. Yeah, my function of a functional interface with this name I am printing. Suppose this functional interface is taking a two parameter, second one is an integer type num, then in that case how will you give the implementation? So here give num, num, that's it, num, or n you can give, that's up to you. That is nothing important. It's not like that you should give the same name as what is the name is given in that variables here. What is the name of given that variable? It is not like that you can give that name only. Whatever you want to give, nu and be a number, that's it, number, and that number you can give here, and you can print, and while calling you have to give that number like 100. And if you run this one, yes, so this is lambda expression. Lambda expression is nothing but directly this is one a hyphen and this angular braces. Using that one you can represent that method. Only one abstract method will be there in that functional interfaces, and that implementation directly you can give here. And the lambda expression can only be used for, functional interface can only be used for lambda expression. Specifically it is built for lambda expression. Functional interface is built for lambda expression only, because condition is there that method should have only one abstract method. If that one abstract method is there, then you can give the implementation here only. Okay, so this is lambda expression. This is lambda expression, means functional interface. Okay, so this is the types of interface, and we have seen the definitions of interface, and we have created the interface also. Types also we have seen. Okay, and one more thing, in the previous session we have seen interface can be used to achieve the multiple inheritance in Java. Yes, multiple inheritance. How we can achieve multiple inheritance? Suppose here if you see moving vehicle and flying vehicle are there, and aeroplane. We have seen this example previously also. Aeroplane is moving vehicle and flying vehicle both. So moving vehicle, we have defined two variables. Two methods. One is a start, another one is a move. And flying vehicle also we have defined start and fly. And inside aeroplane we have given this implementation start, move and fly. So here if you see inside moving vehicle, one method is there, that is a start with no argument, and inside flying vehicle also one method is there, that is a start with no argument. In that case your JVM your compiler will not confuse here. Because why? Because the implementation is not here. Implementation will always be in class only. In that case the execution will happen from the class only. So always your JVM will be execute from this implementation. So this was the problem in C or C++, because in C or C++, if it is a class, then you can give implementation here only, and here also you can give the implementation, and the both classes you have extended here. In that case, which execution your compiler should execute? Compiler will confuse in that case, because that will be give an ambiguity. So to remove that issue, interface is introduced in Java, and using that interface we have removed this issue. Suppose we can say that interface can have a default method also, no? And default method has a implementation. Yeah, that is also chances, because default method can also be there in interface, and default method also has the body, also has the implementation. So in both the interfaces implementation can be there for same method. Yeah, that is also chances. So in that case your compiler will tell at the compile time only. See here you can see after down to this aeroplane, one red marks is there, means this is a compilation fail. And if you read this message, then your compiler is saying clearly duplicate default method's name. Filling is a method name with the parameter 0, with no parameter, and with 0 parameters are inherited from the type flying vehicle and moving vehicle. So it is saying in flying vehicle and moving vehicle one filling method is there without parameter, means filling method is there with same signature in both the interfaces. Inside moving vehicle and inside flying vehicle one filling method is there with same signature. In that case this is a duplicate. So your compiler is telling here only, your compiler is giving this error at a compile time only. So that in that case you cannot compile this one and you can not run that at all. but in C or C++ you can successfully compile, and while running, at the time of running, your application will give this error. So that is very difficult to handle, and we should not do like that. So to remove that issue, Java has introduced interface here. Okay, this is the use of interface here. So we are going to remove this from this, any one of them. In that case, that error will go. Yeah, now this error will go, it's no issue. Okay, but we will remove this from this also. Okay, so now this is the use of this for like that we have achieved multiple inheritance also in Java using interface. Okay, so this is about interface. So interface is nothing but defines a functionality without implementation, because we have given the implementation into class only. Inside interface we have given the abstract method only, we have not given any implementation. We have defined the functionality only, not implementation, but the implementation is given in class only, and we have used the interface keyword to create the interface. And interface is a special class that can be fully abstract. Yeah, that can be fully abstract, means inside your interface you can give all the methods that is abstract, or you can give half of the method as an abstract and half of them as a default method. That is up to your choice. And we have achieved multiple inheritance also, and one interface can extend more than one interface. Yeah, that is also possible. Inside one interface, if you want to inherit another interface using extend keyword, you can do that one. One class can implement one or more interface. Yeah, that we already did here. In aeroplane we have implemented 2 interface. N number of interface you can implement by this comma separation, no issue. Okay, and interface can have a static variables. Yeah, that static variables we have declared, and by default that variables are static. By default the variables are static. Suppose in my interface, oh no, it's a functional interface. Yeah, my interface, if you see these 2 variables we have declared. One we have declared with static keyword, that is static. If you are not declaring with static keyword, that is also static. So interface can have a static variable. For interface, object cannot be created. It need to be implemented. Yes, definitely it need to be implemented. If it is a marker interface, in that case also you cannot create object, you have to give implementation in one class. If it is a functional, then functional interface, then you can obviously you can give the implementation in class also, but you can use Lambda expression. You no need to create class also. And multifunction interface is nothing but the normal interface that has some more than one abstract method and variables and default methods. Okay, so this is about interface. Next one is enum. Suppose oh no, what is the use of enum? If we say, suppose some values are there, some static values are there in our application, and that will remain same. So you can do one thing, you can create one class. Inside that class you can define some static variables, list of static variables. Using that one also you can do, or you can define an array. In that array you will add all the values. You can do in that way also, but that is very difficult to process. Each time you have to iterate array and you have to find the values, like that you have to do. So Java has introduced enum. Using that enum you can define single value as an object, single value also. Suppose it can be used to define a static value as an object, but we cannot create object explicitly for enum. Yeah, explicitly you cannot create object. Whatever value you have defined, using that only you can make an object. It is introduced in 1.5 JDK. Okay, it is used to define the user defined data type same as class. Yeah, that is a data type, like data type only, same as a class or interface. Enum is a special type of class that is extending this one. Okay, suppose this is very important. This is very important. Class and interface is there. If we are not giving any inheritance relationship, means we are not implementing or we are not extending any class or any interface. inside one class or inside one interface, we are not implementing any interface, or we are not extending any class. In that case, what will be the default superclass? Superclass for interface and class will be object class. Superclass for interface and class is the object class that is available in Lang package, that we will see in the upcoming sessions. Okay, in the same way, for enum, the superclass is always java.lang.enum, java.lang.enum, and we can override only toString method, because other methods is made as an final. Other method of enum class is defined as final, so we cannot override them. Yeah, final method cannot be overridden. Okay, and public static final string name, this method can be used to get the constant value, whatever the value you defined, that value you can get using this name. We can declare the enum inside a class. Yeah, inside this class we have already seen in the previous session. Enum declared inside a class will always be static. Yes, definitely. If you are not giving the static keyword, then also that will be static always. Inside a class, if you define enum, that always will be static. Object cannot be created for enum. Yeah, obviously object cannot be created. That can directly be accessed with dot. Okay, with dot, after dot you can give your value. We can use enum inside switch statement also. Yeah, inside switch statement also we can use enum. But suppose if we are not using enum and we are declaring one array, in that array we have declared all the values. In that case, we cannot use switch statement. But for enum you can use switch statement. That is very easy. In enum we can implement interface also. In enum we can implement interface. Yeah, that is also fine. Inside enum, an inner enum can be declared. Yeah, inside enum you can declare another enum. That is also valid. Enum can have a static block or instance block. Both it can have. Enum can have constructor also, and enum can have a static and instance variable. Both it can have. Okay, so let's see an example of enum. Okay, so here we have defined one enum that is called direction. Direction means which direction. 4 directions are there. If we see east, west, north, south. East at 0 degree, west as 180 degree, north has 90 degree, and south has a 270 degree. We have given this degree also. Okay, degree is nothing but that is angle. Okay, so so here we have declared one instance variable. So we can declare instance variable, and we have to use enum keyword. See here, enum keyword is used. Enum is a special type of class. Enum declared as inside. Okay, enum keyword. Okay, here we have not added that point. Fine. So enum keyword is used to declare an enum. Public, here before how we were using public class or public interface. Now we are using public enum. Before we are using public class ABC, like public interface, my interface. Now public enum, my enum, or direction. The enum name is a direction here, and here that is the values that we want to use as an object, and this is the corresponding value. Suppose here the key value pair like that, it is key value pair like that only, key and value. It can be more than one value, no issue. If it is a 2 value, then you can give 2 values, 3 values, you can, that is up to your choice, no issue. If it is a 2 value, then we have to declare another variable, and inside this constructor we have to give another value. Okay, so this is the values that we want to use as a object, and this is the enum. Here we have defined one angle. This is a angle value like 0, 180, 90, 270, and this constructor should always be private for this enum. That is very compulsory. Constructor should not be public. Why? Because explicitly you cannot create the object of enum. You cannot create that object of enum explicitly. In that case, you have to give constructor as a private, because internally it will be using that one. If you give here public or something, then it will give here compilation error only. See, illegal modifier for the enum constructor, only private is permitted, so it should be private. Always constructor should be private only. And method you can give anything. Yeah, that is method. That is a method. Get angle. This angle we are giving here, this angle. And toString method we can override. Yeah, we have overridden in this way. So, and it can have a static and instance block also, that is also valid here. I am just commenting that one because we know already what is the use of that one. Okay, so this is a direction. So how we will create the object of that one inside enum main? If you see, we can create in this way. See, direction east, direction dot east, that's it. Now when you are writing this statement, by default internally your JVM is calling that private method, sorry, that private constructor, by passing that value. This value it is initializing here, and east it is taking. So that's why this constructor is a private in enum. East, west, north, south. Now this values east, west, north, south, that is being used here as an object, as an individual object, and in top of that one you can directly execute switch statement. See, we are executing here switch statement. You can use like that. And if we want to we are printing here east directly, and if you want to get name, then it will get only the name east. If you want to get the angle, what is the value for the east? 0, like that. If I run, and you will see. Oh, sorry, I have to save actually. Yeah, see, east. If I am printing toString directly, it is calling, then toString we have overridden in this way. After that one we are getting name, so name is east and angle is a 0. For the second one, name is west, angle is 180. For third one, name is a north, angle is a 90. For fourth one, name is south, angle is 270. And after that one we have used one switch statement on that one. So direction east, so it will execute this block because that value is east here, so it will come, this is east. Yeah, this is east. Okay, so this is enum. This is called enum or enumeration. Enum, we can also say enumeration. Enumeration is a full form, enum is a short form only. We can say enumeration also. Okay, and the last one is annotation. Yeah, so annotation is what? See, and for annotation you cannot create object. Annotation is a user defined types only, but for that one you cannot create object. Annotation is only to use inside a class, suppose to define a metadata of a class, or we can say like that, annotation is used to add extra information into a class. Suppose okay, I will open the code first. Annotation, yeah. Suppose we have created one student class. One student class. Suppose this is a student class. So this is a student class. Inside the student class we have declared 3 variables. One is a student ID, another one is student name, and third one is a student course. And what we want to do, we want to store this value into database using SQL query. We want to store the student object values into student table of a database using SQL statement. In that case, we have to generate one SQL statement. and that SQL statement can be generated from the class only. So inside the class only we have to add some extra information, like what is the table name. So we have added here a table annotation. So this is one annotation, this is an annotation, table is an annotation, ID is another annotation, column is another annotation. So these all are the annotations. So this is 3 annotation: ID, column and table. So these are the annotation. So first we will see the definitions. We will read these points. What is annotation? An annotation is used to add extra information, sorry, not into information, okay, sorry, extra information into class, interface or enum. You can use annotation anywhere. You can use the annotation inside class, you can use annotation inside interface, or you can use annotation inside enum. Object cannot be created for annotation. Obviously you cannot create object for annotation. You have to use annotation inside class only. Annotation can be added into class, interface and in enum. Okay, annotation is used to add metadata into class, interface and enum. Yeah, metadata is what? Data about data, called metadata, and this data is added into a class that will describe your class. What is your class? Okay, annotation can be used into framework technologies such as Hibernate, Spring, Servlet. These all are the technologies that is using annotations, that is already using annotations. Okay, we can use annotation to avoid XML usage into Java application. Inside Java application we no need to use XML, because XML is another technology. In that one we can specify some configuration and we can give some information about the class, so that we can eliminate, and we can avoid that one by using annotations. We can't define the constructor, block or method into the annotations. We cannot define. We can define class, interface, enum or annotation as a member of class. Inside annotation, what we can define? We can define class, we can define interface, we can define another enum, and we can define another annotation also inside a annotation. And by default, suppose, what is the by default super type annotation? All annotations are the subtype of java.lang.annotation interface. For this one, this is one interface. This interface is the subtype of all the annotation. So all the annotation. If I open, okay, annotation, java.lang.annotation. Yes, this is an interface. This interface is the super type for all the annotations. Okay, yes, this one. Yeah, this annotation is the super type for all the annotation, and it's added into 1.5. Yeah, annotation is added into 1.5 only, JDK. Okay, so yeah, we can define okay, all annotations are the subtype of java.lang.annotation interface. If we have deployed any annotation, we have developed any annotation, we have defined one annotation, user defined annotation. To process that annotation or to use that annotation, we have to give one APT. What is APT? Annotation processing tool. Means we have to build a tool that will process your annotation, means that will process the class, in which class you have added the annotation. So that is called ATP. ATP that can be used to process the annotation. ATP also has to developed by developer only. Suppose if we have developed any annotation, then we have to develop an APT that will going to process your annotation. And what is the type of annotation? Annotations has a 3 types: marker annotation, single value annotation, multi-value annotation. What is marker annotation? That annotation does not have any member. That is called a marker annotation. If your annotation has a one member, that is called single value annotation. If your annotation has a multi members or many members, more than one members, in that case you can say that is a multi value annotations. Okay, multi value annotation. So these 3 are the annotations. How to create an annotation? To create an annotation we need meta annotations. What is meta annotation? These 3 are the meta annotations that we have to use to create an annotation. First one is the rotation. Rotation means what? Rotation means it will be used to specify the scope of annotation. Suppose if you see the code, this is a table, one annotation is there. Table is one annotation. At the rate table, annotation will start from at the rate always. So you can say that is annotation. That is starting from at the rate symbol. So this table is an annotation. That annotation where you are marking on top of class. It means the rotation policy of this one is a type. Rotation policy of this one is a rotation policy of that one is a type. Rotation policy of that one is a type. Target. Rotation policy is nothing but scope. How will you observe the scope? Scope is nothing but, suppose if you have created any annotation, then where that annotations you will be able to see. If you want to see that annotation into a source code only. Source code means inside .java file only. In that case, you can mark that rotation policy as a source. If you want to see the annotation inside the .class file, inside source file and inside .class file, means inside source code and inside bytecode. If you want to see or if you want to be available your annotation inside a bytecode and inside a source code, then you have to use rotation policy as a class. And if you want to be available your annotation at all the levels of your code, like inside in your source code, you want to be available in source code, you want to be available your annotation into bytecode, and you want to be available your annotation into machine code or native code also. In that case, you have to use runtime. You should use runtime only. In that case only you will able to use that one. Because if it is in .class file, then because .class file also has to be executed, and after executing .class file, that also will be converted into bytecode only, in native code only. Native code is nothing but a machine code only. So in that case, if it is rotation policy is class, in that case also you will not be able to use in your application. If it is rotation policy is runtime, then only you will be able to use inside your program while your program is running. So the default is a class only. Default scope is a class. If you don't give it a scope, then default scope is a class always. Okay. Source code is what? When the rotation policy is source, then annotation will only be available into source code. The annotation will not be available into bytecode or .class file and native code, that is a machine code. If you marked the rotation policy as a class, then your source code will be available into source code will be available into your annotation will be available into source code and bytecode, but not in native code. If the rotation policy is a runtime, then your annotation will be available into source code, bytecode and native code, or you can say into all the code of level. Okay, so this is the use of rotation policy. So we should use runtime only. In that case only we will be able to use. Next one is a target. What is a target? Target means where you want to use your annotation. You have to tell. In first annotation you are telling where I want to be visible my annotation. In the rotation policy we are telling where I want to visible my annotation. I want to visible into .java file. In that case we can use rotation policy as a source. If I want to visible my annotation into .class file, then I will give the rotation policy as a class. And if I want to be visible my annotation while my code is executing, in that case I have to give rotation policy as a runtime. So this is here in the rotation policy you are telling where my annotation should be available, where my annotation should be available. But inside a target you are telling where I can place my annotation. Inside code where can I place my annotation. So using target we can give the target. Target can be a constructor, target can be a field constructor or field is nothing but a variable. Target can be a type is nothing but at the level of at the class level or at the interface level or at enum level you can give. Package is nothing but you can give at package before to the package statement. Local variable you can, if we want to add into the local variable, that also you can. Local variable is what? Inside a method you have declared one block, inside that block you have declared that variable, that is a local variable. Okay, so that is a local variable. For local variable also you can mark annotations, no issue. Inside a block, local variable is nothing but inside a block. It means inside a method. Inside a method if you have declared any variable, that is called a local variable. For local variable if you want to mark an annotation, you want to declare your annotation as that I want to mark my annotation at local variable level, then you can give the target as a local variable. If you want to mark your annotation at method level, then you can give the target as a method. And if you want to use your annotation in the parameter of a method, then you can give target as a parameter, and so many are there. Okay, so this is called a target. Target means it will define where you can place your annotation into the source code. Inherited means what? Inherited is nothing but, suppose you have marked one annotation into the class, and the same annotation do you want to be available into the subclass. If there is a possibility your class can be inherited by some other class, there is chances, because there is no restriction. If your class is not final, then any class can extend that one. If your class is a final, then no class can extend that one. But if your class is not a final, then any class can extend that one. So if your class is extended, then you want to inherit that annotation also. So in that case you have to mark this, that annotation is as inherited. So it will be used to get inherited from inherited the annotation into subclass. By default the annotation will not be inherited into subclass, because by default if you are not giving this, if you are not marking your annotation as an inherited, then by default your annotation will not be inherited. You have to give this inherited annotation to your annotation, then only you will be able to inherit. Okay, so now we will see the implementation. Okay, So we have created here student class. We have created here a student class. So inside student class, if you see, we have used three annotation. One is a table, another one is ID, and third one is a column. These three annotations we have used here, and these three annotation we only have created. So I will open first table. See, this is our table annotation. Inside this, so this rotation policy is a runtime, because I want to this annotation to be available at native code also. Target I am giving at type. Type means that annotation can only be used at class level or interface level. At the type only it can be placed. Inherited means I am telling that my annotation should be inherited into the subclass also. And this is the keyword that can be used to create an interface, annotation. So add public is an access modifier that we have to use. @interface we have to use. @interface if we are using, then that will be considered as annotation, and this is the name of that annotation, that is a table. And this is not a method of annotation, this is a variable of annotation, because annotations can have a variable or class or enum or interface. No method cannot be there inside annotation. So this is not a method, this is an variable. This is the way of declaring a variable inside a method, inside a annotation. Only one variable we have declared. So this is a single value inheritance. This is a type of what? Single value annotation. Sorry, not inheritance, single value annotation. This is a single value annotation. Table annotation is the example of single value annotations. Annotation is used to add extra information that we have already seen. Okay, so this is one annotation, and second one is an ID. ID is an marker annotation. Marker annotation is what? Marker annotation, an annotation that defined without any member, called marker annotation. Marker annotation means inside any annotation, if there is no member, then you can say that annotation as a marker annotation. So that is marker annotation. ID is a marker annotation. And the next one is column. Column is not a marker annotation or not a single value annotation. Single value annotation is what? An annotation that defined with only one member, called a single value annotation. That is a table, because table has only name fields. So that is a single value annotation. ID is the example of marker annotation, and column is the example of multi-value annotation. Multi-value annotation, an annotation that has multiple member, called multi-value annotation. Yeah, that is a multi-value annotation, because two variables are there. One is a name, another one is a length, and the length default value I want to give 127. If I am not giving the value of length, then the default value will be 127, or if I want to give, I can give that one. That is not an issue. So inside a student class we have declared a table, and the table name, what is the value of this name? Yeah, for value for this name is a student tab. And ID don't have any variable, so we are not giving any variable here. Yeah, see, we are not giving any variable here. We are not giving. ID annotation don't have any variable, so we are not giving any variable here. ID. Column has a two variable, one is a name and another one is a length. Yeah, column has a two variable, one is a name, another one is a length. So name is a student ID, length is 100, and the second column name we are giving a student name, length is a 30, and the third variable column name is a course student course, column name is a student course, and the length is what? Because the default length is 127, so the default length is 127. If I am not giving this length, I am not giving the length for this I am not giving the value for this length variable, then the default will be 127. So here this course ID length is student course length is 127. So this is the way how we can declare the annotation, inside our class. We can add that class, this column annotation we can add only to the variables level, because the target is field only. If this target is different, then we cannot use at a variable level. If the target is field, then only we are using this at a field level. And table target is type only, in that case we are using at the class level. So this is the use of this target, and this annotation will be inherited into the subclass. Means whatever the subclass will be there for student, in that one these annotation will be present, because all annotations are marked with inherited. And table has a rotation policy. Rotation policy is a runtime, means this will be all these annotations will be available into your native code also. Okay, so this is the way how we can create the annotation, and this is the way how we can use the annotation. And one more thing that we have to develop, that is what? APT is what? Annotation processing tool. Means whoever is developing the annotation, that has to develop an APT, so that you can process your annotation. So we have to develop an APT. So we have developed that APT, that is entity APT. What is entity APT? If you see inside this entity APT, we are processing our annotation. This is some reflection code. Reflection is what? In Java, reflection is a very strong library package, very strong API that can be used to get the information of your class. Whatever single information if you want to get about your class, you can get by reflection only. Suppose you don't have a source code, but you have a .class file only. So from the .class file, can you identify how many variables are there? Can you identify how many methods are there? And can you identify how many how many constructor are there, and with what argument that constructor is available? Like that, can you find? Yes, using reflection you can find that one. So this is a reflection code. You don't consider anything. We will see this reflection into some another session, or we will see reflection at the end of this core Java. At the end of this core Java, we will see a reflection. After this standard addition, we will see what is reflection and why we should use reflection and how we can use reflection. We will see. So currently you just understand from this code. In this code we are processing our annotation, that's it. And what the result we are getting after processing? Suppose I will run this code. Suppose this is the main class. So inside this main class, what I am doing here, I have created two students. One is student 1 and another one is student 2. Inside one student 1, I am setting student ID as 1001, name is Ram Nivas and course is MCA. And inside student 2, the student ID is 1002, student name is Suresh Kumar and that course is B Tech. So these two students are there. Suppose these two students I want to save into database, means the student values I want to save into student table, and inside this student class we have specified all this thing, we have specified what is the table name, what is the id, which one is id, this one is id, what is the column name, yeah, this is the column. We have specified all this information. So using this entity apt we are processing those annotations and we are generating a query. So if I run this one, and you will see very productive output. Yeah, this is very productive. See, insert into student tab, student id, student name, student course with value 1001 Ram Nivas MCA. In the second statement, insert into student tab, student id, student name, student course with value 1002 source Suresh Kumar BTech. So this is the SQL statement. If you know SQL statement, then you can imagine that is very productive thing. If you don't know SQL, then that is not a problem. We will see SQL also in another course. We will see in SQL course we will see that one, no issue. So this is a SQL statement. So in this way we can create annotation and we can process that annotations. So this is called interface enum and annotation. Interface is also a data type that can be implemented, and that object can be created into subclass only. Enum is used to define the static values as an object, and annotation is used to add some extra information into class, or annotation is used to add metadata into class. And we have seen how many types of annotation and how we can create the annotations. So we have seen all these things. So that's for today here, and in the next session we will see data type. What is data type? See, we are saying in this starting of this session we have already said interface, enum and annotation are user defined data type. Yes, interface, enum and annotations are the user defined data types. What is data type? We have to define this, no? What is data type? So that data type we will define in our next session. So I hope you like the video. Please subscribe my channel, and we will see you in the next session. Till that, bye bye, and thanks for watching.